It's a cold, rainy night here, threatening a snow. So I thought I'd pick up one of my best loved authors from my youth in eastern Kentucky, Jesse Stuart. This particular book is called The Best Loved Short Stories of Jesse Stuart, published in the year 2000, and it was selected in commentary by H. Edward Richardson. The particular story that I like to read today is called Dark Winter. But from Richardson's commentary, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the story of Jesse Stuart. At the house of the center of the middle prong of W Creek was to carry pleasant memories of idyllic days in young Jesse Stuart's life. Nearby is the site of a well-remembered pasture where the daisies were white and wild roses pink. Once he hunted there for the milk cow Gypsy through sawbriar clusters and small pines whose needles were weighted with, as he would say, dewdrops like little lumps of polished silver until the sun lifted them skyward in ribbons of mist. That day he found the smart old cow in the adler bushes, shunned by the biting flies, and he drove her to the big bushy-topped white oak that didn't shade anybody but Gypsy, my mother, and me. While Martha Stewart milked the cow, the boy lay on his back and looked through the half-shut eyes at the blue sky and changing leaf picture. It was a happy time, this world of pastoral contentment, and I loved everything about it. Yet the tragedy of his 4-year-old brother's death, along with Mitchell Stewart's chance to sharecrop on a 2/3 instead of a 3/5 return, brought about the family's third move, taking the Stewarts to the head of W Hollow, then the last log house up the last prong of W Creek. It consisted of 2 log rooms joined by a connecting area, standing at the juncture of Shingle Mill Branch and the final prong of W Creek. It was the most desolate place I have ever seen. Every room of this house leaked through the roof. Behind the old front log room then was a log kitchen, and the connecting area was called a dog trot or an entry. Situated deep in the forested hollow, the 1844 log shack inspired the author to write in what was probably more truth than hyperbole that owls hooted from the dark timber at midday. The third home of the Stewarts at the head of W Hollow is the locale of the story Dark Winter. Many details of the piece have their counterparts in reality. Greensburg is Greenup, of course, and Dr. Frederick was based upon Dr. Henry Morris. Mom, quote, tall, sinewy, dark as a pawpaw leaf bitten by frost, her straight black hair, her white teeth there in the dim-lighted room, is clearly Martha Stewart, as Pop is Mitchell Stewart. The author has recorded in his personal story, Beyond Dark Hills, that his father took sick following the 1917 growing season when our corn rotted in cold, wet ground. The graveyard in the story, which the boy felt uneasy passing in the night, is 3 Mile Cemetery, located on a steep hill where the W Hollow Road leaves State Highway number 1. The family horse, Fred, and the family cow, Gypsy, were real enough, too, as well as the resourcefulness of the mother and her family caught in the midst of difficulty, right down to the details of making peck, half-bushel, and bushel feed baskets from the riven splints of little white oak trees. The death of Jesse Stewart's infant brother, Martin Vernon, April 17, 1918, is all too prototypically tragic and real. Although the Stewarts lived in this third log house for only 3 years, the author would return in 1939 with his wife, Naomi D. Norris of Greenup, and it would become the nucleus of their now remodeled and many times enlarged permanent home. The front living room of the original logs remains intact, although its walls are now graced with books, objects d'art, relating to a lifetime of distinguished publications and memorabilia from round the world literary lectures. In an interview, which he was asked if Dark Winter were autobiographical, Jesse Stewart replied, "The baskets were made right there in that old living room." Oh, well, cold rain falling outside. Been like that for 7 days. Good time to read a good Jesse Stewart short story, Dark Winter. Now the Shan is only 10 years old, but this is a memory that Jesse Stewart is kind of autobiographical. So Shan is 10. His sister, older sister Barbara, probably about 12, 13. Younger sister Mary, I figure from the story, is about maybe 6 or 7 possibly. And then his youngest brother, Finn, is a toddler who can barely talk. Then of course, in here will be Mitchell. "Your Pop is dying," says Mom. "You have to go after the doctor. It is a long way to send you, but you are all the one I have to send. You'll have to go to Greensboro tonight. Saddle old Fred and go and bring the doctor back with you. Your Pop can't die and leave me with all these children. There are 4 mouths to feed, not much to feed them on, and a dark winter here." Here lies Pop in bed. His face is flushed red. The red color there is in an October red oak leaf. He kicks the cover, the heavy homemade quilts, and he says, "There ain't never been nothing in this country like this influenza. It's a plague, and I believe I'm a goner. Has to be something to thin us out, I guess. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Get me a doctor, son. We ain't got the money to tell him, but if he will come, the cow will stand good, or the horse, or both of them. Money don't matter when a body wants to live." Mom comes to the door with me. She takes a piece of pine kindling and sticks it between the forestick and the firebrands and gets a tiny blaze with a tiny black smoke swirling up. She lifts the lantern globe and touches the kindling fire to the wick. She lowers the globe and wipes off a speck of mud with the corner of her checked apron. I can see Mom, tall, sinewy, dark as a pawpaw leaf bitten by frost, her straight black hair, her white teeth there in the dim lighted room. I can see the tears roll down her cheek without the curve of her lips for crying. Pop back in bed, kicking the quilts with his feet and fighting them with his hands. Our house is far away from all the other houses. We can't see the smoke from another house. We are so far away our chickens cannot meet and mix with our neighbors' chickens. Pop used to say that we always wanted to stay that far away. "When you live so close to a neighbor, your chickens mix. Take care, you're going to have a falling out." Mom didn't want to move to this place. I remember Mom cried when we moved here. We thought we could do better by paying 1/3 rent and have some bottom land down between the hills than we could by paying 2/5 grain rent and farming all that hill land. We give 1 shock of corn and fodder down and take 2 ourselves. We used to give 2 shocks of corn and fodder and keep 3 out of every 5. If you clear the land of briars and sprouts and hoe the corn and know how hard it is to raise, you will know then that there is a difference in sharecropping. If you give 1/3 grain rent or if you give 2/5. That is why we moved to this last house in the hollow. And Martha Smith told Mom before we moved, "Miss Powderjay, that house is hated. I'll tell you that before you go. No family has lived there more than 2 years. There was a woman that killed herself in that house. She got tired of living because she didn't have anybody to talk to. One day, when her husband was out in the field, she hung herself from the upstairs window with a sheet fastened to the bedpost and to her neck. There were 2 graves under a plum tree in the garden. You would hear all kinds of noise there. There ain't a house in a mile of you, and the foxes come right in and get your chickens in broad daylight. Now, we are here. Pop down in bed with the influenza. Our crops failed last year in the crawdad bottoms, and we haven't had anything to go on for the winter. That is why Pop got a job on the railroad section and walks 4 miles to and from his work, 8 miles a day, and 10 hours work to keep us going. And Pop is bedfast. The tiny bright flame flickers under the lantern glow. I set the lantern on the floor, put on a slip-over sweater and overall jacket over that to cut the November wind. Put on a pair of rabbit skin mittens and a sock cap that's stretched down over my ears. Mom ties a scarf around my neck. I walk over a white field of snow to the barn. It crunches beneath my brogan shoes. The stars are pretty in the deep blue winter sky. They twinkle coldly up there in heaven. The wind hits my face keen as a razor blade, and it bites the skin on my face like tiny mouse teeth. Fred is prancing in his stall. He has never laid down on the warm bed of cornstalks yet. I go into the stall, lift his bridle from the harness rack, blow my breath on the bridle bits, and warm them so they won't take the hide off his tongue. I put the bridle on Fred, knock a few dirty flakes of mud from the curry comb, put on the saddle blankets and the pads, throw on the saddles and gird it tight for the long ride. I lead Fred out of the barn, pat his neck, for he is my friend tonight, and he must take me over a long, rugged path. He must be fast and sure-footed, an art hill horses learn sooner or later, and an art already perfected by mountain mules. I am in the saddle. I do not need the lantern. When the moon turns dark, I may not be able to follow the path without it. I tie it to the saddle. It is too cold to hold in my hands. I blow out the tiny flame. I have matches in my pocket to relight it when the moon goes down before I get back. I rub Fred's neck and say to him, "Now, boy, let's go." A straight piece of road. "Slow here, Fred boy. Slow, slow, slow. This is a bad place. Take it easy." The stars are in the sky above me. The bull bat screams. I can hear the hoot out laughing under this cold moon and such cold sky filled with stars. I have to pass a graveyard, and I am afraid of a graveyard at night. There are the white tombstones among the briars and the brush that loom wiry and black above the snow. There are the broken top trees at the edge of the graveyard, and the old iron fence bare of snow. And I think, what if Pop has to come here and sleep in this quiet place with only the wind to blow over him, and the bull bats to try wake him with their screams, and the hoot owls to sit up there in the bare chestnut treetops and laugh all night over nothing. Fred gets his breath hard. He is wet around the saddle. I have to hold a tight rein. He is wiry and wants to tear up the mountain path. The snow crunches beneath his feet. His breath is loud as a wisp of wind in a tangled patch of briars. Over the ups and downs and around the steep shoulder of the mountain, I am on my way to Greensburg. We'll be there in another hour. I wonder how Mom is making it with Pop and Mary and Barbara and Finn. I left a warm fire burning and a light from the big fireplace that danced all over the room. It was a light different to the light of the stars. I love to ride beneath the stars on a winter night. My toes are not cold. I wiggle them in the yarn socks Mom made for me. I'll not get cold. I'll talk to Fred and pat his neck. "Fred, you can take it, boy. Be careful your feet don't slip. Good old boy." The wind whips through the leafless trees and through the dead grass. It is such lonesome wind. I love to hear it, but it makes me think of Pop back there in bed and no doctor. And I think, if Pop dies, Mom and me could get along. I plowed old Fred a few furrows last year. Pop let me try it when we was a plowing in the oats, and he said I'd done right well for a boy of 10. I'll stay with Mom and do my best. She said for me to bring a doctor, and I'm going to bring one if I don't get home till noon tomorrow. I can see the lights from the little town. I am on the mountain ridge over it, and I'll soon be going down the snake path to it. I can see the houses lighted. I'll go down and past the old Wrigley barn, out past the old stave mill, and into the Dr. Frederick's office. He is the doctor Mom wants. She says he is the best doctor in town, for she has seen him save so many women's lives. I'll get Dr. Frederick. Fred pauses, slips, throws his body this way and that to keep from sitting down. He is going down the steep snake path. It makes it bad for Fred, for he is slick-shod and his shoes are not corked. Snowballs on his feet. I get out of the saddle, take a stick and knock the frozen balls of snow ice from his feet. I jump back in the saddle, and he walks down the mountain better. We'll dash out to the street to Dr. Frederick's office. I jump down, throw the bridle rein over the gate post, and run in the house. Dr. Frederick, tall, swarthy, and lean. He meets me. I say, "Can you go out in the hollow to Mike Potterjay's house tonight?" Dr. Frederick says, "Who's sick?" "Who's sick?" "Pop's got the influenza," I say to him, "and Mom said to tell you to come whatever you done, that she didn't have the money, but when you come, we had a horse and a cow, and you could have either one of them or both of them if it took that much. Pop is awful sick. He's a-kicking the covers and going on something awful." "It's awful late hour to get in that hollow tonight, sonny," says Dr. Frederick. "I can't help that," I says. "Mom said for you to come and for me to bring you. I'll have to bring you. I won't leave until you go." "I can't get my car in that hollow. I'd head into the ditch someplace. Roads are as slick as glass, and there's so much doctoring to do. That flu is every place. Wait till I get a sup of my cough medicine." I don't say it to the doctor, but it smells to me like pure old whiskey. "Now you go on," says Dr. Frederick, "and ride your horse to the mouth of the hollow, and I'll be there about the time you get there. I can drive that far. You can get me another horse, and I'll ride on in the rest of the way." He corks the cough medicine and puts it in his overcoat pocket. I run out of the office, leap into the saddle, and snatch the rein from the gate. I am off with the wind. I ride with the wind, and I say to myself as I ride, "I got the doctor. I told Mom I would. Pop won't die. Pop can't die." I hear the car coming. I've just been here about 5 minutes. I don't have another horse. We're not going to ride Fred double. The doctor can ride him, and I'll walk. Dr. Frederick is not able to do much walking. It must be past midnight now. The car chugs up to the old bridge. Dr. Frederick gets out, puts coffee sacks over the engine, and gets his pill bag. "Where's the horse for me to ride?" he says. "This is the one for you to ride," I say. I untie the lantern from the saddle. The moon is going down. It must be far past midnight. It is getting dark. I light the lantern. Dr. Frederick climbs to the saddle. I hand him the pill bag. We are off up the hollow. I follow the horse. "This is a devil of a place for a man to live," says Dr. Frederick. "You can't get in and out. It's dangerous for to ride into a place like this, and roads so slick this time of winter morning." Gray clouds scud the sky. The owl keeps laughing. The bullbat screams. The wind whips through the roadside briars like drawing saw teeth across the rock. The road is dark. I get in front of Dr. Frederick and light the way with the lantern. I am warm enough to throw off my sweater and jacket and go in my shirt sleeves. It is hard work walking through the snow and keeping ahead of the horse, but the doctor is going to see Pop. Pop must get well. What will we do if he doesn't? What can we do? I can hear the crunch, crunch of the snow beneath the horse's feet. I can hear the creaking of the saddle. I can hear the horse getting his breath. I can hear myself getting my breath. But I cannot hear Dr. Frederick getting his breath. If I could, though, I would carry him in myself to see Pop get well. We go past the Powell place. The only way I can tell it's the Powell place is by where they leave the junk wagon set in the wood yard. The snow is falling again. It is turning warmer. Rabbits have eaten the bark 16 inches high on the sassafras sprouts. That is just how deep the snow is going to get. The rabbits know more about it than we do. The house is in sight. I can see the light in the window. Mom has never gone to bed. Yonder is the house, Dr. Frederick. We are here. We are here. A doctor for Pop. I told Mom I'd fetch you. She'll believe me now. Dr. Frederick gets down off the horse. He is stiff. To see him get down out of the saddle, he is tall, pale, and stiff, with long legs and long bony arms and big joints and veins in his fingers. The snow creaks softly by the saddlebag, big white flakes. One can see it in the lantern light. Welcome in, Dr. Frederick. I've been so glad to see you. Mick is rolling and tumbling back there in bed, and just me with him back there. The children are asleep. It's so lonesome here, and Mick so sick. My body about pays for all they get out of life, says Dr. Frederick, and he uncorks his cough medicine and takes a swallow. If it wasn't for my cough medicine, I couldn't keep going. He goes back to the bed where Pop is. I sit before the fire and mend up the brands. I hear him say, Mick has the flu. It's something like old-fashioned grip. Mom says, it's killing a lot of people now, ain't it, Doctor? Yes, a few, says the doctor, but we all gotta die someday and sometime. I'll do my best. You give this medicine every hour and this every 2 hours, and we'll be some better after daylight. It's hard to tell who'll get over a thing and who won't. Now, about the pay, Doctor, says Mom. We'll pay you when we can. We have a horse and a cow, some chickens, and our meat in the smokehouse. And what little dab of furniture you see here in the house. Stop such talk, says Dr. Frederick. I have been doctoring in the Powder Jane family 20 years, and I've never lost a cent yet. The chickens are crowing. It's 4 o'clock. I sit by the fire and punch the dying embers with a hood-end poker. A tiny flame leaps from the embers. My work is not yet done. I have to take Dr. Frederick back to his car at the mouth of the hollow. Wait a minute, Doctor. You cannot go until I make you a boiler of hot coffee, says Mom. I know you are feeling sort of drowsy after being up nearly all night. Mom goes to the kitchen and brings the coffee pot in the front room and sets it on the wood embers. Won't be long till the coffee be a-boiling, says Mom. It is a cold, clear, frosty morning, out with a lot more snow on the ground, and a little coffee won't go bad with you. I can stand a cup all right, says Dr. Frederick. We can see that Jack Frost has carved many beautiful things on our window panes, many beautiful things that we have in our house. He has carved a castle out of the frost with windows and a sky above and trees around the house. Beyond the Jack Frost carved windows, we see a white world and plenty of frost in the air. The air is thin and cold as ice. It whistles around the eaves of the house. The chickens still sit on the black oak's roofs, clutching the bare branches of the trees with their toes. Their feathers are all ruffled. The barn is white. The creek is a white sheet of ice, all but the riffles where the water ran too fast to freeze. Dr. Frederick likes the coffee Mom makes. I like it too. It tastes good. It is warm to the stomach. He drinks 1 cup. Another little taste of that coffee and I'll be on my way to the mouth of the hollow. Mom puts cream and sugar in the coffee. That is enough cream, Mrs. Powderjay. That will be enough sugar. Pop is sleeping in the bed in the corner of the room. The firelight is dancing to the far end of the room. It shows the colors of the pieces in the quilt that is spread over Pop's bed. I go to the barn and slip Fred a bundle of can fodder blades, 8 ears of corn. He rolls the corn in the boxes and eats. Slobbers rolls from his lips. He then mixes with bites of corn and cane fodder blades. It does not take Fred long to eat, and when we come back from the trip to the mouth of the hollow, I'll spread out a bundle of corn fodder for old Fred on the snow. He eats a quick meal now so we can get the doctor back. This is a cold morning. I'll be back once a week, says Dr. Frederick, till your paw gets better. You meet me here each Wednesday at 6 o'clock. If it gets worse, come and get me at any time. He gets in his car. I leap into the saddle and Fred trots back up the hollow. He is going toward the barn. Fred goes faster toward the barn than he does away from it. I come back to the house, take the bridle and saddle off Fred and put him in the barn lot. Then I get a bundle of corn fodder and spread it on the clean white snow. Fred nibbles the fodder and the wind blows his tail till the hairs tangle like a bunch of sawbriars blown by the wind. Winter is here, says Mom, and we don't have meal to make us bread. We don't have enough feed to last us for the horse and cow and chickens and hogs. Our feed will play out before March. Mick back there in the bed sick. God knows what will become of us. Dr. Frederick is a mighty fine man. I've known him ever since Barbara was born. He'll do all he can for us. He knows he'll get his money. Mom walks before the fire and stands. She puts tobacco in her pipe, pushes it down with her forefinger, and dips it down among the embers. Mom sucks the stem and blows the blue smoke out into the room. But Mom is worried she smokes hard. She sucks the long pipe stem hard and fast. We have for dinner cornbread, milk, and beans. For supper we'll have beans, milk, and cornbread. We have our cow Gypsy. We raise corn, and we raised a good pole bean crop. The bunch beans hit too, those that we planted out of the swampy bottoms. I can see the sun come over the high hill that lines in the hollow. The hill is so high that its shoulders cuts into the sky. There are streaks of sunlight running from the sun like streams of blood. I can see the bushy-topped pines silhouetted against the streams of red sky blood. The world is so big. What lies beyond these hills? Days come and go beyond them. Winds whine over the snow and the dead grass. Pop's face is white as snow. He never talks much. He takes medicine and stays in bed. Big Powder Jay is getting to be a pile of skidded bones. Today we haul wood with old Fred off the hill. Mom puts on a pair of Pop's overall pants. She picks up the double-bitted axe and says, "Come on, son, we gotta get some wood today." We go up the hill, through the briars and sprouts, till we come to the timbered top of the hill. Here's where the fire ran through the woods last spring and killed the trees. See the tall skeletons silhouetted against the gum-leaf sky? See them tall and daring in the wind with white coats of sap rotten on their bodies? See my mother cut one with an axe. She can swing an axe like a man. Tall, sinewy, strong as the hills that she has lived her days among. Strong and solid as the hills that have given her birth. Chip-chop, chip-chop, hack, 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 hack. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hick, hack, hick, hack. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hack, 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 hack. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hack, 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 hack. I'd like to know what's a-holding that tree, says Mom. She has a big notch chopped out of one side. A notch pretty as any woodman can make with an axe. Pretty as the notch the rabbit makes on the young sassafras sprout, or the muskrat makes on the elder bushes it cuts for a dam. The wind blows against the tall tree skeleton that is lodged up in the winter icy wind. I can see Mom look up at the tree. I better get Fred back out of the length of the tree. It may fall a different way than it is notched to fall. One lick! It goes lumbering into the earth. The snow flies up like dry powder when the skeleton kicks up its heels. I bring Fred up to the tree and hitch the trace chains and loop them to the single tree, clevis the single tree to the drag chain, and hook the drag chain around the butt of the tree. I get on Fred's back so I can rein him through the bush with the bridle. I say, get up! Dirt flies, dirt mingled with snow and leaves from powerful feet as they grip the earth with the weight of his huge sorrel-collared body, his flaxen mane and tail. The brush snaps and the drag begins to move. It bends down the brush and the briars and makes a path to the woodyard. I unhitched the drag chain so it was slipped from under the log. Undo one of the trace chains so there will be length enough for him to snake the single tree and log chain back and they won't hit his heels. We follow the road back that the log would have made. It is a dry, seasoned out black oak. It will make good stove wood and good firewood. I go back and Mom says, 2 more for you. I'm slaying these trees. I can keep you busy. Mom can cut trees better than she can drive the horse through the brush. I can drive the horse better than I can cut the trees. I haul all afternoon to the woodyard off the tall hill back of the house. It is a hill we do not go beyond. It is the hill that only the sun goes beyond, the wind and the wild geese. Wood is in our woodyard piled high. Mom and I fix us a rack by driving 2 stakes X-wise across a chunk of wood. We lift the ends of the light logs into the X and saw them off. Mom can use a saw better than I can. Snow fell on the logs in the woodyard last night, and we sweeped it off today with a broom sage broom and saw up the logs. We have a tall pile of stove wood and firewood. I'll teach you to work, son, says Mom. If you don't get sick, we can make it. Pop has to lie in bed. His face is not like it was when he followed the plow and burned the brush. It was always saying, come along with them sprouts, Shan. I'll soon be up with you. And Pop would be right behind me, plowing. Color would be in his face. Strength would be in his arms. He would talk to Mom and laugh and say, this'll bring the best corn that ever growed out of God's green earth this season. That was Pop. He was like a sprig of wild honeysuckle. Cut him down and he would grow again. But now he lies in bed and takes medicine. He does not talk. There is not the color of sunshine in his face. The dead oak leaf color is all gone. His face is the color of gray ashes where the brush pile has been burned. Pop cannot tell Mom to work. He does not know that she works. He cannot care. Our table is run down, says Mom. We must have money. We are out of salt, sugar, coffee, lard. We are plumb out of everything. I used to help Pat make split-bottom feed baskets. I could do it myself. You go to the hill and cut me the prettiest little white oaks that you can find. Bring them down to the barn. Cut the white oaks that don't have a limb on them. You can't riv splits through knotholes. They just won't riv. I take a pole axe and go to the woods. I find plenty of white oaks that are the right size without a limb on their pretty slender straight bodies. I cut through the frozen wood with my axe. Then I drag them down to the barn. We build a fire in front of the barn and we heat the white oak till the sap runs from them. Mom splits them with an axe. She rivs them with a froe and a knife. She whittles down the pretty white clean splits. Then she whittles out ribs and handles for the basket skeletons. She weaves the skeletons. Then around the bones of the skeleton, she works with pretty splits. We make 3 size baskets. We make peck-size feed baskets, half-bushel split-bottom feed basket, and a bushel split-bottom feed baskets. You are to sell the baskets, Mom says, and get in the timber and I'll make them. Sell the peck baskets for 25 cents, the half-bushel baskets for 50 cents, and the bushel baskets for $1. I'll go to Mark Penix's house and I say, you want to buy a basket, Mr. Penix? A basket? Let me see. What kind of baskets do you have? Feed baskets. Let me look at them. He takes a basket and looks it over, feels of its ribs, looks at its weave, and he says, that basket is built for service, not beauty. I'll take a half-bushel basket and one of your bushel baskets. I need the half-bushel basket to carry corn to the fattening hogs in a morning,
and the bushel basket to nubbin the calves from. He takes the 2 baskets to the corn crib, and I put the $1.50 in my pocket to take home to Mom. I go from one house to another. I sell the baskets. The farmers buy them. I do not tell them who makes them. I just sell them. I go to the mouth of the hollow and get the doctor once a week. I carry up water and split kindling and feed the stock and help Mom with the baskets. I ride Fred to town and get the things Mom has to have. At night, Mom, Barbara, Mary, Finn, and I sit before the log fire and listen to the wind howl around the chimney and the eaves. The smoke often comes out onto the floor, and Mom will say, "That is a sign of fallen weather. We're going to have more snow. The rabbits have gnawed 22 inches high upon the sassafras sprouts, and we are going to have 22 inches of snow." Mom will say, "There's not anything here I'm afraid of but them graves out there under the plum tree. It is not the snow I'm afraid of, not the work about the place. I'm afraid to pass them graves at night. Just to think of them little children buried out there under that snow in our garden. When spring comes, I'm going to fix them graves up. If them was children of mine buried out there and somebody lived in this house, I would want them to fix up them graves and keep them fixed up. Put flowers on them. I can't stand to see a grave go back to nothing but a forgotten place." Pop doesn't seem to get much better. The flu is gone. The fever's gone. Pop is left weak and white. He lies in bed without any color in his face, a heap of skin and bones, and takes medicine. He never talks. He never laughs anymore like he used to laugh. I hate to see Pop in bed. I hate to think he'll have to rest in a bed of dirt like the 2 children rest in a bed of dirt under the plum trees in our garden. Dr. Frederick does not come once a week now. He comes once every 2 weeks. He says Pop's constitution is weak, and it might be spring before he's able to stir again, if he's able then. The snow holds to the earth. November has passed, December, January, and it is February now. The snow is 22 inches deep in places. I take old rags out and hunt the rabbits. They are lean to the bone. I hate to kill them when they are so easy to catch. They are a beast of prey. They are good to eat, and we need meat. I pick them up in the deep snow. I dig them from the water seeps. I track the possum to his den and dig him out. I catch the skunk and trap the mink. I put their hides on boards and let them cure. It will mean money to us, and we need money. We owe the doctor for coming to see Pop. We have to pay the doctor. If Pop dies, we will have to pay the doctor and buy a coffin for Pop too. And then, you cannot fool me. There is going to be another one at our place. I can tell now by looking at Mom. She's not as lean as she was in early winter, nor does she swing an axe like she did then. We have supplied the country with baskets. We have $80 saved up to make a crop in the spring. That is a lot of money for us. We'll come again in the spring, though hard luck has hit us now. A woman comes to our door. She walks over the snow. A heavy woman with a big clean face and a wide laugh. Her blue eyes dancing behind heavy glasses. She comes to the door and she says, "Does Mrs. Powderjay live here?" Mom goes to the door. She says, "I am Mrs. Powderjay." The woman says, "I'm working with an organization, Mrs. Powderjay, that can be of some assistance to you if you are interested. I can learn that you are in needy circumstances, and I am observed that you are." "Well," says Mom, "I thank you for your kindness, Mrs. Hampton, but we have made it this far, and we can make it on. I brought these children into the world, and I married this man. When I'm not able to work, and none of the rest is able to work, then you can take care of them with your organization." Mrs. Hampton gets up and leaves the room. I can see her wobble across the footlog, past the well box, turning the curve to the right of the point, past the apple trees that stand bare and black on the snow-clad, windswept hill. We'll sink or swim together. I've married Mick Powderjay, and I'll stand by him and my children till death parts us. I am not going on the county either. What is a person that will go on the county? I'd work my fingernails off and toenails off before I'd go on the county. That's what that woman was after. She was going to put us on the county. She'll do it over my dead body. I'll plant corn till the middle of July before I go on the county. Our chickens freeze to death and fall off the roost. We find 1 and 2 under the roost every morning, stiff as a frozen piece of dirt. We find dead birds around the fodder shocks. We find dead quails and dead rabbits. Life is dying. The winter is so severe and dark. Clouds scud the sky. Big flakes of snow fly through the crispy wind. The sun comes out some days, and it is weak as a copper plate in the top of a chestnut tree. It doesn't have any more power than the copper plate, for it doesn't bring the snow to melt. We have not seen the ground unless we dig down through the snow to see it since last November. Barbara says to me, "Shan, wonder how the land will look when the snow goes off the hills again and the trees get green and Pop gets out of bed and walks around like he used to." When our chickens and guineas freeze to death, we carry them to the woodhouse and make tiny wooden coffins for them. We put them in the coffins and carry the coffins up on the bank above the kitchen and make graves for them. We shovel away the snow with a corn scoop, and then we dig down through the frozen ground with a coal pick. We shovel out the frozen clumps of dirt bit by bit. Then we put the boxes in each little grave, and Barbara preaches a sermon about them going to heaven and leaving the cruel fields of snow and the cold wind that knows nobody and cares for nobody. We put the frozen lumps of dirt back on the tiny poplar plank coffins, crumble the dust in on them. Then we scoop back the snow and leave the dead chickens and guineas in a world of silence beneath the snowdrifts. Often their craws at death have been flat. We keep as many as 40 rabbits hanging on a joist in the smokehouse and let them freeze. The meat is better after they freeze. It will soon be too late for rabbits. It will soon be mating time, and the heavy snow is still on the ground. We see the weak sun come up in the icy winter heavens and go down beyond the hills the way the wind blows. We do not go beyond these hills. We do not know if people die beyond like sheep. If the birds freeze to death and the chickens die and the crops fail. We do not know, for we have not been beyond the barriers. We see the sun go beyond and we hear the wind. Pop is getting better, Mom says. I can see some color coming back to his face. When the sap revives in the spring tree, new blood will revive in him. He'll need a good tonic of wild cherry bark, mayapple, slipper elm, yellow root, and sassafras boiled together. That will be good for his constitution. Wait till spring comes back and he'll come out of that bed. Mom is giving Pop bone set tea now. She goes down beside the creek and finds the old bone set stems. I dig down, get the roots from the frozen earth. When new life comes back to the turtles, the terrapins, and snakes, and sap goes through the trees anew, then blood will flow through your father's veins, and he'll come out of that bed. Pop drinks the tea every day. February is going day by day beyond the barriers of the hills with the setting sun and the wind that blows that way. Winter has been so long this year, and we have not seen the ground. Winter is dark, though the sun comes up during the day, and the moon and stars gleam down on the world of snow at night. The sky reddens at sunset like streaks of ox blood, fringing out from the ball of fire where the sun was, and each spangle jingling with the green top of a mountain pine silhouetted against the sky where the high hills shoulder to the sky. Pop says, "Spring will be here soon. I would love to be out there now cutting wood and putting it in ricks and clearing ground. This is the time to start clearing ground, now while the snow is still on. It is a good time to work. My ribs and hips are about to cut through the slats of this old bed. I have been like a cold-blooded black snake waiting for spring. I have been here the winter long in a dream. I am feeling better now. I want to eat." And Pop asks about this hen and that hen, if they are frozen to death, and how have we gotten along with the wood the winter long. Mom says, "Wait a minute, Mick Powderjay," and she goes into the kitchen. Where the flue goes up into the kitchen loft, Mom lifts up a board and brings her pocketbook. She comes to the bed. She takes out the pocketbook, one by one, 80 $1 bills. Pop's eyes get as big as saucers. "Where did you get all that money?" he says. "Never mind that, Mick," says Mom. "But we made it honest. Me and that boy right over here." And Mom puts it back in the pocketbook, and this time she saunters off toward the smokehouse like a hen hunting a nest. Mom will keep the money long as she can. She knows what is going to happen to her. She did not know what was going to happen to Pop. I can see Mom is not as active as she was, as she is not shy before me anymore. She talks often to Mary and Barbara. Mom goes to the barn with me. While I feed the horse, she milks Gypsy. Gypsy won't let a man milk her. She follows Mom all over the barn lot. Fred follows me. I pat his nose. Gypsy is only given a quart of milk at a milking. She will be fresh in April, but she is going to go dry too soon. We do not have enough feed to feed Gypsy all she wants. Our feed is scarce. We are buying 60 shocks of fodder from Broughton's for 10 cents a shock. I will haul it to the barn over the snow on a fodder sled with old Fred. That will take 6 of our dollars. The sun is up today. Water drips from the eaves of the house. Icicles melt into the water and drip from 9 in the morning till 3 in the evening. White clouds scud the sky. Winter has started breaking up. Warm thaw winds blow through the bare Kentucky trees. One can feel them. Warm, soft winds. Winds that remind one of rain. There will be rain and freeze and thaw and rain and freeze again. But spring is coming. "Mom," I say, "are we going to rent this place again and farm next year like we did last year?" Mom says, "We are going to rent this place again if we can rent it, and we don't find a place that is better. We failed last year on the bottoms. Crawdads ate up the corn. This year ought to be a dry season, the bottom ground hit, and we'd raise a couple of cribs of corn. We'll put in some hill land and not take any chances on a season. I must see Mr. Woodrow before very much longer and draw him up an article. We want to put it in paper with strangers so there won't be no trouble if me or your pop would drop off." Little Finn and Mary went up upon the hillside today. It has been Finn's first trip out of the house winter long. Mary was up on the hill when we buried the chickens and guineas in the snow. The snow has melted off under the pine tree up above the kitchen. Barbara, Mom, and I go under the pine tree and we put our feet on the ground. Here the pine needles feel soft from the weight of 22 inches of snow. The long winter is breaking. There is a smell of dampness under the pine tree. It is cold dampness. Finn jumps up and down and he says, "Goody, goody, goody, ground, ground, ground." Today, trains of crows have flown back among the bare trees searching for old corn rows and places to build. They coupled off and search among the tall trees and the south hillsides. The earth looks today like a spotted hound dog's back. There's only clumps of snow here and there, and the swollen streams run blue spring water. Spring has broken. Birds have come. The sparrows to the martin boxes and the wrens to the rag sack and tin cans in the smokehouse. Robins, lapwings, and jays have come back. It is the time to look over the land for the next year's planting. Crows fly over carrying sticks of mud. Pop is out of his bed. He walks across the floor, thin as a sack of bones, white as a petal of a needle and thread in June. "I'm like an old black snake coming to life," says Pop. "I thought the old master was going to call me, but he has left me for another summer, another spring." Mary comes in today and she carries a spring of greenbrier leaf. "The first green of spring," says Mary. "It is the first green of spring that I have seen." "Poke green ought to be coming out," says Mom. "I have to get out and get us a mess of greens around the edges of the rich clearing." I see the windflowers coming out to bloom. It is March. The land smells clean and sweet. The land is good to smell. Mom sends me to the store. I bring back seed potatoes. I get feed for the cow and the chickens and the horse. I get food for the family. I get what Mom tells me to get. Mom is going to have a baby. I know it. I don't know what we will do without Mom. I don't think Mary knows about Mom. Barbara knows, though, about Mom. Barbara is old enough to know. We can see Mom walk out by herself. She will stand and watch a bird build a nest. She will listen to the redbird sing from a bare poplar twig. Weeds are coming back to the South Hill slopes. Once again, the sheep bells tingle on the high hills. The air is cool. The percoon is in bloom, and the blue violets bloom by the old stumps and stacks of rocks in the pasture field. Butterflies flit to the water holes for the cows. Spring is here. I know spring is here. It is the middle of March, and I start to clear 2 acres of hill land to put in corn. I must cut the briars and sprouts and windrow them up the hill so they'll be easy to burn when time comes for spring burning. Our chickens pick the green pepper weeds that grow by the barn. Our hound dogs go out and run the foxes by themselves and tree the possums and hold the rabbits. Pop says, "Don't hiss them dogs on a rabbit this time of year. That rabbit might be an old she about to have youngins. Be mighty careful. If it hadn't been for me, old Fleet would have catched an old she rabbit up there in the old apple orchard yesterday. She holded in a little piece of log that she could have tore her open in a few minutes longer with her mouth. The log saved the rabbit till I got old Fleet away." Today the grass is green, fluttering in the wind. Mom takes a garden hoe out under the plum tree that is beginning to put out green buds. I can see her rake the graves with a hoe and fix little pieces of broken dishes and blue vases on the graves. Mom smokes her pipe. I can see the blue smoke in the blue March wind. It goes in a stream upward from her long stem clay pipe. She chops with the hoe and works around the headboards. She pulls away the dead grass. She cleans the stubble from the springs of fresh springing flowers. Mom is not supposed to work now. When I go out to clear ground after the work is done around the barn, I can see Mom coming down the path, smoking her pipe. She comes to the clearing and she says, "If I could only be in there with you, things would be different. It will be different when your pop gets well enough to work again. I am a-making him drink that bitter yarb medicine. It will do him good. He's a-feeling better now. He's a-walking upon the hill, but his strength ain't come to him like it will come to him. You've been a good boy to work this winter, and you ain't been no place but to town and right back. I'm going to make you some shirts and some pants, and buy you a better pair of shoes, and start you and Barbara and Mary to Sunday school next Sunday. You are growing up like heathens back here in this land that God has about forgotten." And Mom will pick up a brush I cut down with an axe and pile it on the windrow. She will pick up another and another, and she will say, "I wish I could be out here with you. I love the spring. I love to dig my hands into the dirt Just to think of the days I have worked with your pop, right by his side all day long and loved it. It will not be much longer until Mom will have to quit work. She will have to go to the house for a while. I know she loves the dirt, the wind, the sun. She loves the out of doors. She does not care for the house, and she cares less to lie in bed. But Mom loves the trees, the briars, the wind, the grass, the wildflowers, and the stars. I have seen Mom saunter off to the woods and watch the lizard catch flies from the side of an oak tree. I have seen her find a bird's nest and would not touch the birds with her hands. She said the ants would eat them if you did. I have seen her sit out on the hills among the wild roses and watch the white clouds in the June sky drift beyond the barrier of dark green hills that enclose the hollow like an iron rim that shouldered to the heavens. I know Mom does not like to lie in bed. Our chickens cackle under the apple trees and wallow in the dust under the corn crib. We have a pretty flock of hens left after the cold, dark winter. They lay their eggs, and we sell the eggs and buy coffee and sugar. Did you know our chickens has got limber neck? Says Mom, and she carries a young hen from the barn whose neck goes first one way and then the other. These chickens is getting into something, maybe maggots. Something them old houses carried in. Mom gets some turpentine and puts it in a meal dough, spices it with red pepper. She fixes it in a crock. Catch all the chickens and put them in the cow shed and let's dope them and save all we can, says Mom. It's maggots in their crawls. That hen has died. I cut her open to see what was wrong. Maggots was working out of her crawl. Spring is here and these hens are after worms in the early springs. Dogs has carried them something in here. I smell it. Maybe it's that. Instead of the cold, damp smell of winter leaves that comes in the early spring, when buds begin to swell and life starts all over in the plants again. I catch the hens and put them in the corn crib. Mom goes to the crib and I hold them while Mom puts dough down their throats. Pop hobbles to the corn crib. That's bad luck to lose all them pretty chickens this time of year when the body needs them most. You can't save them when they once get maggots. We can save part of them, says Mom, and if we had got to them in time, we could have saved them all. I tried the turpentine on the maggot I cut out of the hen's crawl, and the maggot didn't last 5 seconds. It's getting the turpentine into the crawl in time. Hurry it up and hand me that chicken. I hand them fast to Mom, and I hold their bills open. Mom puts gobs of turpentine and pepper dough down their necks. The hens shake their bills, crane their necks, and walk off when I throw them back out of the crib door. Mom says, here's one it's too late to fool with. She is nearly dead. She is a-suffering. She won't last much longer. She puts them in a group on the crib floor. They can't lift their heads. Their necks are limber. They sit there and cock, cock. Now, says Mom, put these suffering chickens out in their misery. Put them in a coffee sack and carry them up there in the hollow and take an axe and cut their heads off. That is a quicker death than to let them die here the way they are. Don't be long about it. I take the hens one by one, put them in the coffee sack. I take my pole axe. It is all I could do to carry the hens at 2 loads. They are not heavy. They are not fat. I take them upon this hill at this pine tree. I get a block of wood and I take them out one at a time. They cannot get away. I put their limber necks across the block and cut off the heads. I dig a big hole under the pine tree and throw in all their bodies and their heads, and then I shovel in the yellow dirt. I pile rocks over the hole. As I go back to the house, I smell something that Mom says she has smelled. It is not the sour, damp winter leaves throwing off scent to the spring wind. I follow the way the scent leads. I see the green flies swarm from the grass in the yellow spring sun. Here it is. It is an old horse knee one of the hounds has carried in. The maggots are working alive on it. I gather broom sage and pile over writhing, yellow-nosed worms. I strike a match, and they shrivel up and squirm before the quick, thin heat, more than leaves do when they burn in midsummer heat. I will not tell Mom. She would want me to get rid of my good possum hound. Mom has saved over half the chickens with her remedy of turpentine and red pepper. I get the potato patch plowed down in the rich dirt by the barn. This week is the time to plant potatoes, for it is the light of the moon. They will grow big at the top of the ground, Pop says, and will be easy to dig. The signs are in the skies. We must plant them to get a good yield of Irish potatoes. Pop slices the potatoes to drop into the hills. I furrow the ground with long, deep, straight marks. Barbara covers the potatoes' eyes with a hoe and Mom drops them in. It is late March. The sun is yellow in the blue spring sky. It is time to work. It is time to plant potatoes. Mom says, I have to get to the house. Minute! Pop says, son, jump on that horse as quick as you can and get a doctor. Don't answer no questions, but go. Get Dr. Frederick if you can. I unhitch Fred from the plow, throw off the harness in the potato patch, and without a saddle I stride the mountain trail the way I went after the doctor for Pop on the cold winter night. Up the hollow, around the slope, past the graveyard where the sawbriars and sprouts are greener now and will soon hide the tombstones. I go over the hill, around the ridge, down to the town in full gallop except for the uphills. Dr. Frederick, get out of here! Get out and sew him as soon as you can. Mom is sick. Maybe you know what it is the matter with him, I say to him. He jumps in his car. When I get home, he is there. Mom has a little boy. Another brother for me and Finn. He is so small. He was born before the doctor got there. He does not weigh 2 pounds. Mom looks at him and laughs, and we gather around the bed to look at him. Finn says to the Dr. Frederick, you got any more babies in that pill bag? Dr. Frederick laughs. Mom says, the dresses that I made up there on the hill for him are all too big. He's the least baby I ever saw. I have to pin him to the pillow. I'll lose him in the bed. I remember seeing Mom sit out in the woods making little dresses, and when I come around she'd put the work up. Now I understand. I hate to hear him cry, says Mary. He goes like a mouse a-squeaking. Let me carry him, Mom. Let me take him out to our playhouse under the walnut tree. He ain't big as my baby I got Barbara made for me. I'll keep him here, says Mom. He's so tiny. Little ears and little fingers, a little tiny cry, a little tiny mouth. But ain't he pretty? We want to play with the baby. The doctor didn't bring Mom that baby, says Mary. I heard him crying before the doctor come. Mom got that baby someplace else. Barbara is tall, slender, with 2 pretty rows of white teeth, eyes blue as the March sky, with hair the color of dying wheat straws. She cooks for us. She burns the bread. She gets her dinner ready. Mom says, Jan, you go out in the smokehouse and look in the coffee sack of rags where the wrens build and lift up the rag to the left of the nest and get my pocketbook. I go out and get the pocketbook. It's just where she says it is. I hand it to her. How much do I owe you, Doctor? $10 for the trip, he says. She counts him out 10 $1 bills. The doctor puts them in his pocket. We'll get that other bill as soon as we get on our feet a little. I go to the field and clear the ground. Pop comes and helps me a little. I can see that Pop's color is coming back. He eats more now. He feels better. Mom is doctoring him now. He is taking Mom's yard medicine. I cut a sprout down. Pop throws it on the windrow. I cut a swath of briars with the scythe. Pop forks them on the windrow. The sun is above us. The wind blows by us. We hear the wind. We see the sun. It is spring. We love to work in the fields. But I do miss Mom. She does not come out these days and smoke her pipe and say, "I wish I could be out here. We'd do things." 3 days, and Mom sits up in the bed and rips up the baby's dresses, cuts them down and makes them to fit. Barbara can't make dresses. She can make a paper doll dress for Mary's rag doll. She can make a dress for my tiny brother. He's not as big as a doll. Mom keeps saying, "I'm tired of this bed. I'm coming out of here. I can't stand it any longer." In 4 days, Mom is up. She is working in the house. "You can't get out of bed," says Pop. "You're out of bed too soon. You should stay in bed 10 days and you ain't been in bed but 4 days. Mom does not answer Pop. Mom will do the way she pleases. And she pleases not to lie in bed. She walks out into the garden now and makes a lettuce bed and plants some early potatoes for summer use. Mom sets the hens. She marks the eggs with bluing. She plants flowers in the yard. She is up and going while Mitchell sleeps. April is here. Sun is pretty in the sky. Green is back to the hills. Gypsy picks the tender sprigs in the pasture. Birds sing and the hens' combs are red. They cackle in the woods. The crows fly over. They caw and call. They carry worms to their young, hidden back on the steep slope in the dense cloud of pine fingers that wash the wind on the mountainside. Pop is behind the plow again. His face is getting red like a rooster's comb. I am clearing the hill land to be sure of a good cropping this year. Mr. Woodrow rides his boning bear up. We were working, and he says, "You sure are getting along well to have had all the trouble you've had. Is there anything I can do for you?" Pop says, "Not now, Mr. Woodrow." "Well, we didn't put anything in the article we drawed up, but I'll give Shan several days' work along since he's got big enough to plow. I'll give him 25 cents a day, and you and your horse $1.25. 25 cents for the horse and $1 for you." "Funny," says Pop after Mr. Woodrow leaves, "that a horse gets less than a man just because he's a brute and he does so much more than a man." I get a day now and then when I have time. I work for Mr. Woodrow. We work from sunrise in the morning to sunset. I take the quarter home to Mom. Pop works the same way, and so does poor Fred. He comes in at night a horse of a different color. His sorrel hair is the color of a wet blue cloth. Slobbers hang from his lower drop lip, and there is a white thick lather between his hind legs. "Mitchell don't grow a bit," says Mom. "If he grows, I can't tell it. He ain't strong like my other babies. I am afraid. Somehow I fear. I dreamed last night that Mitchell played with a lot of babies up there on the hill under that oak tree. I couldn't climb the hill to get to him. I had to stay at the foot of the hill and watch him." We plant the corn in the fields Pop has plowed. I'll soon have the 2 acres of hill land cleared. We'll burn this off and not plow it. We'll just double furrow the weedless soft new ground after the fire runs over it and plant it. We'll plant beans in with each hill of corn and a drop of a few pumpkin seeds in the soft loamy places and around the old stumps. Pop is a planting corn. I am ready to fire the new ground. April the 19th here and new ground not ready to plant. I see Mom coming down the path to the clearing. She is wringing her hands and crying. I can hear her. Pop stops the horse. "Whoa, what in the world's the matter?" "Mitchell is dead. I can't go back in that house. Mitchell is dead." Pop leaves Fred hitched to the plow. I run off the hill. We go to the house. "I found him dead," says Mom, "on the sheet. He's never been like my other children when they were babies. He's dead. He's dead. I could never stand to go back in that house. He died in that house. You must take it easy, says Pop. That's got to come sometime or the other. And it's got to come to him before he knows the world like you and me knows it. He's better off than we are. The Finneys and the Martins come to sit up with us. Our work stops. We go to town and buy a tiny coffin, one so small a person could carry it. He must be put away nice, says Mom. Not in a homemade coffin, but in one bought with pretty linen. We can pay for it. He must be dressed in a pretty robe. Mom does not sleep while the coffin is in the house with Mitchell in it. She goes and looks at him, and tears fall. The dark winter behind, Mom says. Now is the spring, and death in the spring when the world has changed so. Mom drinks coffee, black coffee, without cream or sugar. She slips out and saunters beside the creek that flows swollen and blue from recent spring rains. She will smoke her pipe. She would not smoke in the house in front of the Finneys and the Martins. He must be buried on land that Pap owns, says Mom. He's the only kin I got that owns any land. I don't want him to sleep like these little children out here in this garden. Pap's land is the same as my land. We'll haul Mitchell there. He'll not be on a stranger's lands. He cannot be buried there. It is tomorrow. Fred, hitched to Mr. Woodrow's spring wagon, leads the way through the April mud. It is April 21st. I remember. Mom and Pop ride side by side through the drizzling April rain. They ride in the buggy next to the spring wagon bearing a little box. We go to Grandpa's place 5 miles away. It is noon and we are there. The grave is ready. It is a little grave with heaped up yellow dirt under a pine tree. Grandpa shows us the way upon the hill. There is a little crowd there. Mitchell does not know about the world. He rests in the dirt of the world. We leave him on the hill, a part of us. My father, mother, my brother, and my sisters. We leave him a part of the Kentucky earth. It is strange to leave one on a hill to sleep so long, one that you have seen breathe and move tiny fingers and blink an eye and cry like a little squeaking mouse. The horses race back over the April roads. We are trying to beat another rain. The skies have been clouded all day. See the sun? Says Mom to Pop as they ride together. First time today that I have seen the sun. Dark Winter by Jesse Stuart, a short story.